Program is the Ironman Championship of Australia. A field of 14 here from the right-hand side in station number 1. Brad Fernley of Freshwater, the red and white quartered cap. Then John Anderson of Southport in Queensland, dark cap. 4 times the Australian champion, Grant Kenny from Alexandra Headland in Queensland. Stephen Hopkins of Scarborough. In the light blue cap there is Craig Riddington from Manly. Then Barry Woodger from Currumbin, the green and white quartered cap. Mitch Kahn, the visitor from the United States. Then Clayton McDonald in the gold cap from Point Leo, Victoria. The dark cap of Dwayne Thuys, Seacliff, South Australia. Mark Bennett's also in a dark cap of Southport, Queensland. Greg Mickle of City of Perth in that white and red cap. The light blue of Guy Leach, the winner of the Coolangatta Gold from Manly, New South Wales. Peter Noble from the entrance in New South Wales. And finally Barry Newman from Queenscliff, and that would be Queenscliff in Victoria, I think, wouldn't it, John?
Queenscliff, New South Wales.
Queenscliff, New South Wales. The sequence is ski, board and then swim. The same sequence we've had right through. And away they go, Grant Kenny after his 5th Australian title.
Yes, and of course this is Grant's strongest leg within the race, and right at the moment is Craig Riddington on his left. It's got the best of the break, but have a look at Dwayne Thuys in the centre of the field, get a good break also, and up the other side we get the competitor from the entrance, Peter Noble, who's got well out there too. Clayton McDonald of Point Leo is well placed, but it's Craig Riddington slightly in front of the fellow from Freshwater, and he's paddling very strongly, but on Clayton McDonald and Point Leo is out there right with it. It's surprising, Norman, that Grant Kenny, the strongest ski paddler out there, is at this stage right in the middle of the field, and he can't afford to give these guys a break because he's not the strongest swimmer in there. And actually, just as I spoke, he stopped paddling because he got into interference there with the competitor from Southport. But he's going to have a lot of difficulty going through this field as we see the action from the chopper as they go around to the first turning point. But it's the competitor from Point Leo in front at the moment. That's Clayton McDonald in front of Dwayne Thuys from Seacliff, South Australia. On the other side with the Greg Mickle paddling very strongly. The competitor from Freshwater, Brad Fernley, is right up there. And as we go back through the field, it's a long way back before we get to Grant Kenny, who's on the inside of it, and he's currently running 5th. But coming back towards the beach is Clayton McDonald of Point Leo in front. It's Dwayne Thuys of Seacliff, South Australia, coming up to him on his right-hand side. And behind him, Brad Fernley of Freshwater, coming over then to Greg Mickle of City of Perth, and then to Grant Kenny of Alexander Headlands, and then Craig Riddington of Manly is in the placings right then. Mark Bennett is placed right then, and we see Mitch Kahn then coming through to Guy Leach, and on the far side we see the fellow paddler from Queenscliff called Barry Newman. They're about 100 metres to go before they hand over to the changeover, and it is still Clayton McDonald of Point Leo who's going very well, but coming up on him is Dwayne Thuys, and we saw how well he paddles. And look at Dwayne Thuys, a lot of quality with what this young fellow does in all surfing. He doesn't make many mistakes, and that's Dwayne Thuys of Seacliff out first, Clayton McDonald of Point Leo second. In third place, Brad Fernley. In fourth we have Greg Middle, then we have Guy Leach, then further back to Mark Bennett, then Grant Kenny, then Craig Riddington, then to Mitch Kahn, then further back to Peter Noble, then right back then to Barry Woodger and a whole host of other competitors. Going back into the second leg, and here's a surprise for me because I would have thought Grant Kenny would have been in front on this leg, and he can't afford to give this lead to any of the competitors at the moment, but it's most certainly Dwayne Thuys, Seacliff, South Australia, in front in the second leg.
Well, while you're looking at the leaders, John, Grant Kenny did a brilliant changeover from the ski to the board, and I reckon he's gone from about 7th to about 4th place. A very good changeover into the water.
Well, he'll have to do it because you can see the lead that is being increased by this young competitor from Seacliff, South Australia, and he most certainly has opened up his lead at the moment. And as I put the glasses on into second place, we can see the competitor from Point Leo in Clayton McDonald, and as you said, Norman, Grant Kenny has moved up into 3rd position. Now, Grant Kenny is not the fastest swimmer out there. That'd have to be Craig Riddington, and Craig Riddington sitting behind Grant Kenny in 7th position at this stage. But it's going to be anybody's race. The excitement on the beach is unbelievable. There's not a person moving around. The whole crowd is centred right into the area where the Ironman is being held. And it's probably the most popular event in the Surf Lifesaving Championships held in Point Leo on this weekend. But have a look at the lead that this young fellow from Seacliff, South Australia has got. Dwayne Thuys, who's trained very hard in both Queensland and New South Wales over the last couple of years, and going back to his home state, has always competed for Seacliff, and he's gapped him at the moment. The Daylight is second, third and fourth. But coming up as the minor placings now, we can see the interest in as they go around the boys between Mark Bennett of Southport, has moved up into second place, then back to Clayton McDonald, and we can see coming up the very class there is a great run there by Guy Leach, and Craig Riddington coming through, but it's Clayton McDonald's Point Leo in third. Mark Bennett of Southport, Queensland is in second place, and right back then to the lead, Dwayne Thuys, Seacliff, South Australia. With about 100 metres to go on the change for the second leg, it is still Dwayne Thuys of Seacliff in front. Grant Kenny has dropped back into fifth place. He's behind Craig Riddington. Barry Woodger has moved up. Brad Thurnley has moved back into sixth place, and we see Mitch Kahn at the moment dropping right back into seventh or eighth position. Craig Riddington has now moved up on Clayton McDonald to come into third place, and he's well positioned for the swim. But I just don't believe they can give the start to Dwayne Thuys. He's not the fastest, and have a look at the quality of his work again on the changeover. This can make and break a competitor, but it's Dwayne Thuys. You can see the young competitor from Seacliff, South Australia. He's having a look behind him. He knows that he's got the big chance for this one. He's faster than Mark Bennett in the swim, but there's a whole host of competitors going through. Entering into the final leg of the Ironman, which is the swim leg, it's Dwayne Thuys, Seacliff, South Australia, is a very, very good swimmer. Is top speed, not as fast as Riddington. In second place will be Mark Bennett, and coming up into behind Mark Bennett is his other teammate from Southport, South Australia, which would be John Anderson, used to be from Stockton, New South Wales, and then to Craig Riddington of New South Wales. Now, Riddington is the fastest swimmer. I don't believe he can give the start to Dwayne Thuys of Seacliff, but we'll live and learn. Riddington is in the water. He's running third at the moment with Anderson of Southport. Bennett of Southport's in second place, and a long way in front of them is Dwayne Thuys of Seacliff, South Australia. Grant Kenny, I hate to say it because he's been a top competitor, but he won't have the pace to pick these swimmers up at the moment, and right now he's not running for a place, because out there and swimming very strongly is young Dwayne Thuys, Seacliff, South Australia, and it's going to be a great win for him if he can hold them off. Already Riddington has moved up into third place. He's taken over from John Anderson, and he's got the sights of Mark Bennett right in front of him now. He'll have Mark Bennett by the boys, I would suggest, and then it's a string along the boys and away back to the beach. Now, Riddington being a very good surf swimmer, he will make his play behind the boys. He'll try. I'd suggest that Dwayne Thuys would have 4 boy lengths lead at this stage in this event, and that's when Riddington's going to make the run. He's going to try and put everything he can to pick up as much ground as he can before the young swimmer from South Australia makes the return to the beach from the red and yellow buoy. There's Riddington now moving up on Mark Bennett of Southport, South Australia, Southport, Queensland, and he's moving up to equal second place. He's just go past now Mark Bennett, and he's got now in his sights the young fellow from Seacliff, South Australia, in Dwayne Thuys. Now, this is going to be a swim and a half if Riddington can have it. Thuys has got the opportunity now of seeing. There's the second buoy. I said that before. Now, it's not going to be that way. Riddington is on the third buoy now. Now, you watch the fast stuff from our camera in the chopper as Riddington puts. Now, have a look at him putting his head down. He's going to try and he knows this is where he's got to put his power in, because he's got the young swimmer in 2 buoys. He's picked up a half a buoy length lead in 4 buoys. Now, coming up to the red and yellow, he's up to 3 buoys. It'll be 3 buoys. He picked up 1 buoy length on the one around the beach. Now, Riddington is a very fast swimmer, but young Dwayne Thuys is also a top surfer. Now, it's whether Riddington can put him in tall. He didn't get a good turn on the boys, and what a race this is going to turn out to be. My prediction will be that it'll be Thuys that'll hit the beach first, just in front of Riddington. But Riddington is swimming a little off course. He wants to straighten up. Thuys has got a beautiful course back to the beach. He's got the blue and white turning flag right in the middle of his head. Riddington's about 5 metres to the right-hand side of it, and Thuys is trying to hold him off. Riddington's put himself in a situation where Thuys can't see him. Thuys is a right-hand breather. He's trying to look for Riddington and can't pick him up, and Riddington's sitting on his blind side, but Riddington doesn't have the best run back to the beach. He's too wide. It's Thuys that's running the shortest course possible, and that's a direct line to the blue and white turning flag. Dwayne Thuys, Seacliff, South Australia, who's leading. Craig Riddington, Manly, is putting it all in to try and get it. Mark Bennett of Southport is sitting in third place. And coming up into third place past Mark Riddington is Guy Leach of Manly. So it looks like Manly for the minor placings. But it's going to be the Seacliff swimmer that gets there first. Riddington has to put it in far now. Riddington's about 4 metres behind him, but have a look at Thuys. He's held it out for the finish, and he's held it all the way. Thuys is using his legs like nobody's business at the moment to bring him back to the beach. Riddington's going to try and sit in his chop to give him every assistance possible. But it's Dwayne Thuys, Seacliff South Australia, who's in front, and he's going to hold off Craig Riddington. Only 15 metres to go before he stands up. There's a couple of little chops here. Won't be any assistance at all to Craig Riddington, and it's a good run, a good swim to Dwayne Thuys, because only a metre or two separating them now. It's going to, because Thuys got it in him. He's looking around, he's porpoising across the edge. The crowd are with him. Here's a new champion for Australian Ironman, and it's a great one to Dwayne Thuys, Seacliff, South Australia. The first time ever they've won an Australian championship, and have a listen to the crowd as they show their acclamation to this young champion going across the line first. A great one. He's waited 3 years for it. Dwayne Thuys, Seacliff, South Australia first. Craig Riddington, Manly in second place, and coming up into third place, and they won't catch this man. He's the longest athlete, best athlete in long distance in Australia, Guy Leach. A great Ironman Championship of Australia. Johnson at Wax, Ironman Champion of Australia, is Dwayne Thuys, Seacliff, South Australia. Craig Riddington, Manly second. Guy Leach is in third place, and coming up is Barry Woodger of Currumbin, Mark Bennett then of Southport, then to John Anderson of Southport in fifth place. Coming up into the position now, 10th place to Grant Kenny of Alexander Headlands, and he couldn't keep up the pace of the younger competitor in Dwayne Thuys. He spent a lot of time with Dwayne in training, and I'm sure if he couldn't win it, he couldn't think of a better victor than Dwayne Thuys. A great Johnson Wax Ironman Champion of Australia.
The result of the Ironman race is now official. First was Dwayne Thuys of Seacliff in South Australia. Second, Craig Riddington, Manly, New South Wales. And third, Guy Leach, also Manly, New South Wales.
Great stuff, Dwayne. Your first national Ironman title.
Yeah, I'm very happy. Thanks.
You seem to have it won at the end of the first leg. You're going into your strongest leg and you're winning already.
Yeah, well, I came out of the ski in a good posse, and I didn't want anybody near me in the board so that they could wash right off me and get a lift out. So I ran hard along the beach there, and then I had my own water in the board, and that was my strongest leg. So that's where I tried to make the most ground on the rest of the field.
Looked like it could have been a pretty thrilling finish there if the swim leg had been any longer.
Yeah, I was dying, and I looked. I came around the last can and saw Rideau, and he'd caught me a bit, and then I just put my head down and swam as hard as I could, because I knew that that was his best leg, and he would be after the gold too. So
you would have had to fall over to lose it then, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, at the end here, yeah, because he was still swimming when I was waiting, so I sort of knew I had it won then.
Well, you had a very good win in the heats yesterday, and you seem to be able to handle those miserable conditions as well as today.
Yeah, well, I liked the conditions yesterday, the chops and the runs. I find it better if there's a few skates coming in. I think that's to my advantage to be able to catch them and keep running on them. And so that didn't really worry me, the wind and that yesterday.
Did you have a plan going into the race today?
Yeah, it was just to go flat out. My ski leg was pretty, it was sort of all right, so I figured if I just went flat out in that, and then I could go harder in the board, and then the swim was the last leg, and if you're in front, you're not going to go slow.
Hard to keep the smile off your face, isn't it?
Oh, it is now, yeah. I've been trying to do this for a few years, and now it's happened.
How are you feeling?
Good. Real good.
That was the final event on the program here at the 1985 Australian Surf Lifesaving Championships. The next championships in 1986 will be held at Moana in South Australia. Norman May at Point Leo for ABC Sport.